And we're back, 2024. Hopefully you haven't given up on all your New Year's resolutions yet. Call in, tell us your New Year's resolutions. Today on Digging Deeper, we're going to talk about, is it a nightmare to apply for your jobs? So I think the first thing to talk about is, in general, if I'm interested in a job, what is the number one way people are going to research a job or look you up or find your job openings? Maybe we can say like the top 3 and we can walk down each little rabbit trail.
I don't know if they're ranked appropriately, but your corporate site would be your first, or at least if I'm looking at something, I want to look there first.
Right.
At process, how it looks. Now, from a scale perspective, I'm not sure your corporate site is number 1. Maybe it is. Depends on the brand, I guess. And then,
but we can say with some degree of certainty is that if somebody is interested in working for you, they're going to end up on your corporate site at some point, more than likely.
I would say absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I think that's the thing you've definitely got to get buttoned up. And then I'd say the next thing is, how do you appear in Google? Because people are going to Google your name.
Right.
And then what's the starting point on your site from there? Is it the homepage? Then how easy is it for me to find job information?
We'll get there.
All right, sorry,
Don't get too far down the
too much
rabbit hole.
activity yet.
what was your question initially? What were the top 2 or 3 places people find you?
Yeah, so it's
Okay,
like
so
if someone's interested in working for you, or say they're just applying for a type of job in which you are hiring for, what are the number one ways people are going to find you? What's going to be their first interaction with your brand, with your post, with your advertisements for said job?
Well, then the other one would be Indeed.
Yeah.
And that's getting the job information. I think once you step past that, they're definitely going to be looking at you on social media and YouTube. In addition to if you want to back up one step, looking at Glassdoor for job reviews, or for salaries, for interview questions and things like that Glassdoor provides. But they're definitely going to say, okay, how active is this company on social media? Mm-hmm. If it's a big company, they're not very active. That tells me there's a big disconnect.
Right.
What is YouTube like? What are the videos like? What are people posting about the company that work there? Not just necessarily the videos from the actual main company either.
If I'm interested in a job, let's say a diesel technician, more than likely the first thing that happens is a search in Google that is something to the effect of diesel tech jobs in my area. Perhaps if you have a great employer brand, it could be jobs working for so-and-so.
Yeah, for sure.
But at some point within the spectrum of this search, they're probably going to end up on your corporate site. They're probably going to read reviews on Glassdoor. If they end up on a job board like an Indeed, is there anything that we can give people, say, for that part of the journey? What are some of the big mistakes that we see people make?
The biggest one is not putting pay information. Okay. I mean, that's the big thing people want to know is how much you're going to pay me. Everything else, I don't want to say a second, but we see job postings all the time, and they put a range of, you're going to make between $62,000 and $110,000.
Actually, I would be okay with that. That's probably...
That's better than some of the other things we've seen.
90% have no pay, or it'll say pay based on experience.
Well, maybe we can rank it like, what's the absolute best, number one, best case scenario? What do you want to see in an Indeed posting as far as pay? It's
a range. I understand from an employer's perspective that, you get, depending on pay, that makes sense. So It's a range, and it should be weekly. Okay. Weekly pay. Now, if we're talking, you said specifically mechanic. I mean, when we're talking as we expand in talent acquisition, not everything is hourly pay, but in this case, hourly. But we see that weekly pay converts much better than hourly pay.
All right, so we've talked a little bit about, kind of the job posting Indeed side, or maybe the ad, but maybe we talk about the search side of things with Google. What, as a company, if I'm looking to expand my talent acquisition horizon, what should I be looking at from a Google standpoint?
Well, I'm going to give a broad statement here, though, first. Whether it's us or, someone else, you need an essential advisor. You need someone that can help you navigate what you're currently doing and what you're missing out on to improve. So we feel like we're pretty good at that with our data, and then everything we've seen, we have the data to back up some of the stuff we're going to talk about. But even when you mentioned Google earlier, when you talk about the localized search, I'm going to make something up, but technician jobs near me, that's probably too broad, but something to that effect. You also have to be good at other variations of that phrase, which we see the data. They're looking at first shift jobs near me, that kind of stuff. So the ability to play off of a bunch of different things and then craft the message when it comes up in, a relevant search and what does your ad look like, make sure that the content of that ad talks about your average weekly pay.
And one of those insights you're talking about, like stuff we have on the data, is, for instance, diesel mechanic is searched about 10 times more. They can put the actual stat above me. I don't know the actual number. Diesel mechanic is searched about 10 times more than diesel technician.
Right.
Which I think there's technically some differences there in certifications. I don't know. But I think there's a bit of a colloquial, people tend to just go with diesel mechanic. So that's like one of those good insights that, as your advisor, we could tell you kind of thing.
And I think just to stay with Google for a second, the sale of the job, getting that person to buy into joining your company starts with the ad.
Which I guess if you're hiring for a role where everyone's trying to get in and there's not tons of competition, the more there's competition for your role, maybe you can list requirements. But if you're hiring with any sort of volume and there's a shortage of quality available, then you got to start with benefits, not requirements.
So that's a good point too. I will say, with the clients we do have, there are certain areas or job types, or maybe let's say that first shift, that they don't need a whole lot of help on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you do need to customize your approach, your messaging to some of the more challenging roles. Be open to just what you're saying, running some specific benefits or using a channel you haven't used before. Even in some cases, taking a phone call is outside of some people's norm for these types of jobs. And I understand you don't want hundreds of phone calls, but if you have one location where you've been looking for a PM, a night welder for 6 months, let's consider throwing a phone call number on there, allocating a resource to actually talk to somebody.
Okay, that takes me to the next thing because I want to move through this kind of fast. But so we've kind of talked about high level, how people come across your job in lots of different ways. So they could, find it on your careers page. They could find it on a site like Indeed, or even if you're doing some advertising on Facebook, or maybe even organically, they can find it on Google. If I'm interested in that job as a potential employee, how should I allow my audience or the people looking for jobs, hopefully I asked this right, how should I allow them to show interest? Like if I'm interested in that job, should it always just be fill out an application, fill out a short app, have a phone number available, have a short form available? What all should I be thinking about in that stage of the hiring process? Does that make sense?
Kind of.
I think
I guess the more pragmatic way to say it is, if I'm interested in a job, how am I going to show it? How should you let me show interest?
I think you need one of the biggest considerations people miss, since that's kind of what we're talking about here today. Consider the technology the person is using when they're interacting with you.
Right.
And you've got to cater your kind of acceptance to their activity based on their technology. What I mean is, if you have this 47 field application that they have to fill out, that's not going to happen on their phone. And if the majority of people are showing interest on mobile, then clearly there's a disconnect there.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest mistake a lot of folks make in trying to hire people, is they're trying to put too many things on the page and they're not considering the environment that person's in that they want to hire.
The other piece to that, I would say, this is from a conversation the other day where a client, they even said our top of funnel or our application flow is fine, but they were concerned with quality.
Yeah.
So to me, I guess it depends on what the problem is. If application and flow is fine, then making it more friction, or maybe you don't want a short form or a phone call in that case.
Right.
but they're still missing something on the quality side that you've got to add, be flexible and add in another qualification or a filter type question.
Right.
So I don't think it's one size fits all.
Well, and kind of to provide a little more context there, it's like we titled this loosely. We'll change it in post if we need to. We'll just dub over me saying something else. It's is it a nightmare to apply for your jobs? Oof. So I think what the scenario we created on the top is like, I can't find you on social. Your careers page is hard to find, and you don't advertise pay. So if you're not even advertising pay, I'm not going to apply for the job. But maybe if it's everything else seems good, I'm willing to talk to somebody. So like you're creating a bit of a nightmare. If it's like I'm looking for you on my phone, it's not mobile responsive. There's no phone number to call. The only option I have to show any interest whatsoever is to fill out this arduously long app on a mobile device. It's like, yes, you're a nightmare to apply for at that point.
Well, two things, and I hear this a lot. When you talk about quality, especially if you're looking for experience level, I know we mentioned diesel mechanic, but that could be in any array of positions.
Welders, plumbers, electricians, whatever.
Experience is a big one. If you aren't listing pay or any specific benefits, the data says you're going to get entry-level people who will apply. Okay. The more experienced person isn't, without knowing more. And then the second piece to that I would also put there when you're talking about is it a nightmare, and we found this when we ask clients, because we do this. We do a lot of secret shopping, especially if we're talking to a prospect. We even joke, it's a little bit of a speed date. Are we a good fit for you? Are you a good fit for us?
Yeah.
How many of you guys have gone through your own application process? It's a nightmare. Which I guess I didn't mean that, but that is kind of a play on the name of this. If you haven't secret shopped your own company and seen how difficult it is, what happens after you fill it out, what do you hear from someone after you fill it out, we recommend it.
That's a very, very good point. I think that one should get posted up here. Secret shop your own application process. They love it when I do that. All right. So I think we've created kind of a good flow here of we got the top of the funnel, all the ways they're going to engage with your brand, and then it's like if they're starting to show interest, all the things you want to consider. I think one thing we could have added in there also, because I know there's probably a lot of perhaps some dealers here today, and if you're going to ask for phone calls, and you want to make sure you have someone available to field that call. Right. And maybe you don't have the bandwidth for that. So maybe you heavily weight what you're doing towards an interest form or something of that nature where you have the time to actually get back. Now, you still want to field those leads as quickly as you can, but you don't want a bevy of missed inbound phone calls. So another thing to consider, I would say.
Can I add to it?
Yeah, of course.
It's something like 95 or 98% of text messages are opened and read. So you can carry on a conversation via text or some automation via text versus the phone call if the phone call is not an option. So there is texting platforms or get a partner that can help you there. And then in addition to that, email's just not ideal. Right. You can set up a Calendly link in your text. So schedule a next steps call if you don't have the staff to field inbound calls. That's another option.
Right. All right, so I want to take another step down because we talked about how important the corporate side is, and you tried to really go there faster than I wanted you to, but
Sorry.
now
my apologies.
Now we're ready for you. All right, when we talk about at some point, likely they're going to end up on your corporate site, but they're really looking probably for your career page. They're going to see what jobs you have available. Maybe they're ready to fill out a full app. Maybe they're still in that stage of I just want to show interest of some sort or talk to somebody to get more info. What are the cardinal sins of a career page, or you can even extend that if you want, the cardinal sins of a corporate site / career page?
Too much information and too many job types on one page. That's the number one death knell. If you have one page and you have, let's just say 5 different jobs on there.
Yeah.
That's 5 different bullet lists of benefits, 5 different bullet lists of requirements, 5 different descriptions, and no one's going to scroll through it. They're just going to bounce. I think that's the biggest mistake people make with their careers page is they try to, just put the entire buffet of everything that's available on one page. And that's the biggest way to make someone just bail off of your site.
So how do you get around that?
I think you got to do a couple of different things.
Okay.
One is you either got to create a bunch of pages,
Right.
which is a bunch of work, or you've got to have some sort of a job board type function on your site. See, and this is when we talk to people like, look, go to Indeed, and then you pick 5 other job boards and tell me what their homepage looks like. It's always a search experience. So sort of a keyword and a location. Get that implemented on your site. You will see dramatic improvement immediately from applicants for the positions you have available.
Okay, what's another cardinal sin? We got one, too much info.
Way too much info. Yeah.
A lot of it, if you have a robust HR system or ATS system, there's probably just some feed that's pulling the jobs from your HR system. And most of those are created with requirements as the main, it's almost like they're created to exclude people,
Right.
to eliminate
Trying
people.
to knock out candidates.
These are the requirements. This is what you're going to need to be doing. You have to be able to lift 50 pounds and it is not crafted in a,
I can do that.
it's not crafted in a benefit from the candidate's perspective, an enticing, what am I trying to say?
I would say they're writing it in a way to knock people out. They're not trying to sell the job. Like
Yeah,
their
that's right.
website is designed to sell the company. There's a lot of websites that are designed to create sales leads for, whether it's equipment or services you offer. And then
Yeah.
you have this careers portion of the site that's just, a dictionary of information. Like, no, like you need to sell the job online because you're trying to sell that candidate to come to work for you.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't think most people in HR, there's probably a lot of people in HR who don't think of themselves in marketing.
That's right. That's true.
But there's
fair.
when you're trying to reach someone that's highly sought after, there is an element of marketing there. So you maybe could work with your marketing department to say, or work with a trusted advisor to say, how do I position these jobs in a way that make them more appealing to the people I'm trying to reach, as opposed to, as you said, just filling out the base requirements in a feed.
I mean, you still have to have requirements.
Right.
But yeah, there needs to be a balance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. You got any more cardinal sins for me?
Just make sure that the technology on that careers portion of your website aligns to the technology. So we see people that they have the phone number on there. Call this number to speak with the recruiter today. But when I tap it, I've got to copy it, go over to the actual make a call function on my phone, paste it and dial, make that thing a telephone link to where I can just tap it and call. I mean, just some simple things, which Darren's comment a moment ago, get someone to shop that page. I hand my phone to my wife. Can you understand this page and can you go through this process smoothly? Tell me what's difficult for you, because she's never seen it before, and it's just like a brand new user. It's a great way to kind of proof what we got going on.
What about just navigation to the page itself, navigation to the careers page?
It's got to be in the navigation, whether it's on your desktop and your the mobile version. Sometimes navigation on mobile can get a little buggy.
Yeah.
And you and I had a conversation about this yesterday, where there are some sites that looks great on a laptop.
Right.
And the navigation on your phone gets overridden by a logo or an image, or there's 20 different things, and I can't find it. So you gotta go through that experience on a phone for sure.
I will say that most of those corporate sites are geared towards sales.
That's
Right.
And it is difficult to find the career. Sometimes it's down in the boilerplate or in the footer.
Yeah, buried.
So,
And it's worth the conversation. Like, we keep harping on the technician, but generally, like if we look at our typical dealer, I know back when I was more involved in the dealer space, a big portion of their revenue, and at one point it was most of the revenue comes from the service department.
Right.
To have a good service department, you got to have technicians, and there's a shortage of good technicians right now. People are scrambling to get them. So, and if you want to hire them and it's that important to you, it's worth having a conversation. Like maybe you're just a service manager, but if you want more people applying for your jobs, it's worth a conversation with whoever manages your website to say, hey, that careers link that's way down the boilerplate, can we move it further up?
Yeah.
Because people are going to end up on this page, and I'd love to get our jobs in front of them at a higher rate.
Yeah, I don't want to blast it all over the homepage. Like, we're hiring now. I'm not trying to take your site from what your core business is and turn you into a job board. But think about the person who's looking for a job and sell them on saying yes, and that starts with being able to get the information easily.
make it easy.
For sure.
All right, so let's do a quick review because we got one more thing, and then I'm going to do a short overview of Reach. So we talked about kind of top of the funnel. It's like when people show, if you're trying to not be a nightmare, it's like make sure when people find your jobs that they are able to see pay, they're able to see benefits. If now there is a bit, as Aaron said, there is a bit of a, hey, if you need to knock more people out, maybe it is more of a requirement play. But if you are struggling to get the people you need, maybe we look more at benefits, make sure that pay is involved, make sure that you have a social media presence, make sure if they get to the corporate site that it's mobile friendly and that they can actually find the careers page. On the careers page, let's have, if people just want to, if they're interested in what more info, you need to have a number. But if you have that they can call, push the button and call. But if they're going to be calling, you better have someone to answer the phone.
Really good point. Yeah.
Maybe some short forms would work well for your department. And then if you want the full application, once again, you always, the big umbrella over all of this is it's got to be mobile friendly. Mobile responsive would be a better way to put it. Mobile responsive, because nobody wants to fill out a monstrous application on their phone that asks for repetitive information and isn't formatted for mobile.
I will say though, our non-DOT or CDL position clients, the app is much more user-friendly.
Right.
When you get in the driver work history, that obviously makes it much more robust. But when you go back to Secret Shop, go through your own experience.
And that's probably the best tip that's been given. And I would give that to anyone in marketing ever, is anything you're putting out into the ether for your audience to react to, take yourself through every step on it. Click on every link, fill out every single thing, check it all. And because if it feels wonky to you or something doesn't make sense to you, it probably won't make sense to somebody else.
The caveat I would put there too is when we do a Secret Shop, if you do it, you need to do it with an alias.
Right.
And the reason I say that, if you do it with your own email, they're going to see it, and whoever in HR may not follow up. But I have a real case from the other day where we filled out, there is a short form on this company's site, which I was impressed with. So we filled it out it was a PM shift, something that we thought, hey, this is probably more difficult to get.
Right.
So let's see if they're quicker to reply on this one. Filled it out. We got a automated email. Thank you for your interest. Click here to set up your username and password for the application. So we did that. Mm-hmm. Clicked the link, went back, filled out the first part of the app, created my username and password, filled out the application first part. And it does allow you to save it and come back for later. I thought that was good.
Really nice, yeah.
We did that and have heard nothing since. That was like 10 days ago.
Ooh.
So
I guess they don't need that PM shift.
Well, it's a good example of there's something that's missing in their process. Where did it go? Who at least sees that someone raised their hand, but didn't complete it? No one's followed up.
Well, and that leads me to my final thing I would like to talk about briefly, because we're going kind of long here, but it's all good stuff, is once that lead is in, that application is in, interest has been shown, what sort of automation can we put in place? What sort of automation, whether that's like drip campaigns from emails or text messages or whatever, what sort of automation could we have in place to where we don't get that, hey, I filled out something and it's 10 days later, I haven't heard back?
I think the biggest thing is send them a text message. Your information's been received. I get that when I buy things now. I buy something online, your order's received, 20 minutes later, the order's created. I kind of get this running SMS or text message conversation. Now, I'm not saying you have to be that robust, but let that applicant know that their information's been received. And then, if
you're not that robust, there's partners out there that can help you get there.
Yeah, and then have some other sort of SMS messages every day, every other day for the next couple of days, just talking about the benefits that you offer. It's a great way, and then entices them to call, come back, fill out your full application, things like that.
Email too. Email's not going to work as well, but it's super inexpensive.
Yeah.
And so, and have a good subject line, not, complete your application.
And have a number. You can have different messages for different times of day. So if it's 9 to 4 Monday through Friday, have a number they can call right now.
The last thing we'll do, and you get 2 minutes, Kyle. I want you, because as you said, and I think we would be remiss not to talk about some of the solutions we offer in this space. So when we talk about having a career site that is mobile responsive and searchable and branded and can be used if you're going to do advertising, can be used in that space. We have a product called Reach that will solve all of those issues for you. So you get 2 minutes, because we don't ever want to make this too salesy, but you get 2 minutes to go through it really quickly.
Thank you.
And then we'll cut it off.
Sure. So going back to the recommendation of having a job board search kind of experience on your site. It's what everybody's used to seeing. A keyword and a location, 25-mile radius, show me the jobs in my area. That just cures so much out of area and non-qualified hassle for people that are reviewing leads and applicants and things like that. And then that kind of gives you, and with the beauty of Reach, is it allows you to have those customized job postings and tailor the geography as specific or broad as you want. Job groups based off of hourly versus salary, different locations in different dealerships. That way is where that's been really effective. And it baked into it is everything we've talked about. The phone numbers are automatically linked. The geography automatically updates. You can update things across all postings immediately, and it syncs with your ATS. So if you do have that applicant and they want to call you, we make that easy. If you have someone that just wants you to give their contact information, I need that into your ATS, we make that easy. So, and again, it's beautiful on mobile devices as well. So
if you were to put like the punchline over the top of it, is like, it's going to make it easier for you to manage your jobs, and it's going to make it immensely easier for those that are interested into your jobs to apply.
And save a bunch of time and hassle for everybody.
You may have said this. It's a career page that bolts onto their corporate site.
Right.
That's right. And what a lot of people are doing now, if they're in HR, they're putting the URL in their email signature. So now anybody that they're talking to, they're actually seeing more traffic because of having that feature on their site, because it's in so much email communications as well. It's just giving them an additional job resource in the market.
All right. That's been the first episode of Digging Deeper. Probably peaked the microphone. First episode of Digging Deeper for 2024. Is it a nightmare to apply for your jobs? Boom.